Watching Chelsea just isn't super enjoyable at the moment, is it? And truth be told, it hasn't actually been really fun and easy to get behind the team for a couple of years now. So in lieu of actual results and watching the team do really well to get the enjoyment from football, I've decided to do something slightly different, and I am going to take a crazy look at how I might fix Chelsea in our current diabolical situation. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, we are going all out, man. I am unleashing my inner FIFA kid football manager, and I am just going to tear the team apart and put it back together again with the signings that I think ideally could help us see a title challenge. We're going to look at outs, we're going to look at ins, and we're also going to take a little look at the manager situation. But guys, before we get into it, if you're enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. I have spent an unnecessary amount of time researching players and figuring this out, but it is just for fun, man. It is just for fun. This is the thing. A lot of these choices I don't actually expect to see happen. Some of these choices absolutely will happen. That is for certain, but a lot of them maybe not. I know we've got financial issues, and I know, I've not gone for realism here. And I'll say I've not gone for realism. I'm not being like, sign Mbappe and, do you know what I mean, like anything like that. I've kept it within a realm of realism, but to make this amount of changes over the next couple of windows in order for us to challenge for a title, maybe not so realistic. So we'll start with the outs, man. Who needs to go? Who is on the books that I think that isn't necessarily going to contribute to a title challenge for one reason or another in the near future? So we'll start with the obvious one, Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling is just, it was just a terrible buy, man, at the end of the day. Like, it's just not worked at all. He had like a few months in a Chelsea shirt where he looked all right, but he's being paid an exorbitant amount of money. He's not playing. I don't even know what the training situation with him is at the moment. He went on loan to Arsenal last season, didn't do particularly well there either. I don't really blame him for this, because at the end of the day, Chelsea offered him 300k a week and he is on a contract until 2027. I don't blame any footballer for taking the bag when they've been given it. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, but he needs to go one way or the other. So if there is a way to, I mean, what is it? It would cost us like £30 million just to cancel his contract, just because of how much money he's got left on his deal. So, if we can meet someone halfway. And the thing is, he wants to stay in England as well. This is another quite complicated thing with Sterling. Like, he had offers, MLS, Saudi Arabia, but he was like, no, absolutely not. Ultimately, he wants to stay in London. I think this close to his family and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But either way, Sterling needs to go. Next up, the next most obvious one is Axel Disasi, right? Axel Disasi had offers again in the summer. Do you know what I mean? Bournemouth, West Ham, Wolves, but like the opposite to Sterling, he didn't want to stay in the UK and he wanted to go out on loan to Europe somewhere, but we couldn't loan him because we'd used all of our international loan spots. Axel Disasi has been playing with the under-21s. He's trained with the first team like once. He's changed his physique a little bit, and he seems to be trying to keep fit and getting ready for a next move. We're not going to make a huge amount of money for him. In fact, we're almost definitely going to make a loss on him because we paid £45 million for him, which seems absolutely crazy when you think about it now. But Disasi, another one that absolutely just needs to be moved on. The next one, it's Tosin, man. It's Uncle Tosin Adarabi-Yo-Yo. And this is one of the ones where it's like, to be fair, no, I actually just don't really want to see him play for Chelsea again. He came on in the game against Atalanta last night, and after missing the Bournemouth game, after the absolute shocking performance he had against Leeds, and just still looked out of it, man. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what's gone on. He's kind of had patches of reasonably good form, and he's looked okay in a few games across the season, but ultimately, as of right now, his confidence seems to be shot. His head is just gone. And also, the big thing is we got him on a free transfer, so he's just profit waiting to happen, even if it's 15, 20 mil. Do you know what I mean? If someone comes in with 15, 20 mil for Tosin and he goes, that's 15, 20 mil on the books. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of it because it's all quite complicated, but we do need to sell before we can buy, right? And obviously, because of amortization, if we sell Tosin for 20 mil and we sign someone where we've only got to pay like 5 mil a season or something, or 10 mil a season, like that can pay for the first year at least and keep the books balanced. Either way, Tosin, not good enough for the team, needs to go so we can get more people in. The next one is maybe a little bit harsh because I don't think he's been terrible this season in particular, but I just think long term, Benoit Badiashile isn't good enough for the club. I as a squad rotation player right now, I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm not angry to see him on the pitch. I don't sigh or, do you know what I mean, whenever I see him take to the field. He's a good passer of the ball. He's made a lot of errors in his career at Chelsea, but in I say recently, like ultimately in the last few performances he's made for us, which have spanned quite a long time because he's been injured for so long, he's actually been pretty good at the end of the day. He was really, really good against Liverpool. He wasn't actually one of the real issues on the pitch yesterday against Atalanta. Right now, as a squad player, yeah, okay, cool, not too bothered about that, but long term, I think that he's probably not good enough for the club, and there are other options that I'm going to get into that I would rather see in that place. Next up, Philip Jorgensen. He's just got to go, isn't he, at the end of the day? And he wants to go. I feel a bit bad for Jorgensen compared to some of the other guys on this list. Like, Jorgensen has not been very good for us, but at the same time, I think his position, his situation is a bit more nuanced than the other guys. He's a young goalkeeper, right? And the problem with backup goalkeepers is when you've got your number one, i.e. Robert Sanchez for us right now, it's a lot easier for him to play lots and lots and lots of games and stay fit because the goalkeeper position is obviously a lot less physically intense. So the problem with having a second goalkeeper that needs to develop and not someone like a Marcus Bettinelli or a Mark Schwarzer, Willy Caballero, Asmir Begovic, all of those slightly older second keepers that we've classically had over the years, Jorgensen isn't getting better because he's not playing. So a lot of the other times, our second or third goalkeeper is someone who has played the majority of their career. They have their ability kind of locked down, if you will. Do you know what I mean? And ultimately, Jorgensen needs to get better, and he's not going to get better if he's not getting games. He played 3 times this season and wasn't good enough. And of course he wasn't good enough because he's not been playing. So Jorgensen wants to leave. Denmark still have a chance of qualifying for the World Cup in the next international break in March. So I can see that potentially happening in January. The only issue with that is, like, what do we then do about a backup goalkeeper? We've got Gargas Lanina. Is he worse than Philip Jorgensen? Absolutely no idea, but ultimately presents the same problem. Isn't going to be able to get a lot better because he's not going to be able to get minutes. Even, like, you look at some of our backup midfielders, strikers, whatever, outfield players, they get minutes one way or the other. There's the odd occasion, like, for instance, Yoro Hato hasn't really been playing because Marc Cucurella just seems to be able to play every single game. But for the most part, outfield players, even rotational outfield players, are likely to get more minutes, i.e. Josh Hachampong, for instance. He has played a reasonable amount of football this season. We would like to see more, but he's been able to improve because he's been able to get minutes. I think we'll probably have the same problem with Gargas Lanina as we do with Philip Jorgensen. So for Philip Jorgensen, he's not good enough to be our backup goalkeeper because he still needs to develop. He's too young to have already found his, kind of talent or whatever, and he needs to go out, I think, and play for another team. Whether that be a loan or a sale, I absolutely don't know. Long term, I think he just needs to be sold. But yeah, Philip Jorgensen needs to go. Next one, maybe a little bit savage because he's actually been quite good for us when he's been given opportunities this season. It's Tyreek George. Tyreek George is not... I'm not saying sell Tyreek George because I don't think he could be good enough. I absolutely think he could be good enough, but he's money, man. That's cash money. That's cash money. He was going to go to Fulham for like 22 mil, and his stock has probably risen since then as well. So we could make 25 mil plus for Tyreek George at the moment. And ultimately, Alejandro Garnacho and Jamie Gittins are not really leaving much space on that wing for game time. And also Pedro Neto can play there. And we've got players like Esteban Willian who can come in on the right as well. Do you know what I mean? So Tyreek George, other than playing striker, which by the end of this list he's not going to need to do, just isn't going to get any game time. And I think he could go on and do really well at another club. And I think we'll probably sell him for the same reason we sold Conor Gallagher. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's cash money on the books right now. And if we want to be able to fund any more purchases, then selling Tyreek George is going to be essential to that. Okay, the last two slightly different situations. I would like to see Facundo Buonanotte end his loan spell, whether that be in January or the end of the season. None of this list, by the way, is particularly do it now for January or at the end of the season. It's just, but at least by the end of the season, I would like to see these things happen. Buonanotte was not a panic clone, but at the end of the day, we just needed bodies, didn't we? We'd spent ages talking about Xavi Simons and Fermin Lopez, and, you know, he's only really got any minutes at all because Cole Palmer was injured for so long. Cole Palmer's back now, but also we've got Enzo Fernandez can play in the 10, Esteban Willian can play in the 10, João Pedro can play in the 10. We've got other players that can fill that backup 10 spot at the end of the day. Facundo Buonanotte hasn't added a huge amount to the team, and if we even wanted to buy him, you know, the price would be nuts because it's Brighton, right? And Brighton also in a situation where some of their attackers have been injured and they could do with some reinforcements in January. So it's not crazy to think we could see that happen in January, but either way, I don't think Facundo Buonanotte adds to the team, and ultimately would like to see him go. And last, it's not a sale, it's a loan, but should he get fit again, I think we should loan Romeo Lavia away. I think also it shouldn't be a Prem move. I think Romeo Lavia could really, really benefit from a loan to an Italian team or a French team, to go and be able to play somewhere a little bit less physical and to be able to get minutes and get back to where he was. I think it's just been so long at this point. It's so much pressure when he comes back from injury, and it just keeps happening, man. He just keeps on getting injured. So I think the best thing for Romeo Lavia's development is to go and play in a league that has a little bit less of a physical expectation, where he can get minutes and kind of properly recover from his injury as well. I really, really like Romeo Lavia, by the way. I think that his profile is something we don't really have amongst the rest of our midfielders, and I would love to see him get more time in the team one day. We paid like nearly 60 mil, do you know what I mean, for him? Big investment on Romeo Lavia, and he is still very young, but he's just in this situation at the moment where the injuries are curtailing his career completely. And if it's possible to get him a loan in a different league, like I say, that has a little bit less physicality, so we can see him get back to his best, and then maybe he can have a shot fighting for the first team in the future, I think that would probably be the best thing for him whilst we continue to build our team for the right now. So that's it. That's my list of outs. It's like 7 players as well, man. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite a lot. And most of these players are barely seeing the first team. I think of this list, Tosin and Badiashile are playing a reasonable amount compared to everyone else, but the majority of the players on this list we're not really even seeing in the first team anyway, so it's not like it would be detrimental to the team. But yeah, that's my list of players that will go out. So now we're getting to the fun part. We're going to look at the players that I would like to bring in. The first 3 players we're going to look at are actually already Chelsea assets, so I will just bring those into the squad. The first one is Mike Penders. I've flip-flopped a lot about the Mike Penders thing this season, but at the end of the day, he is a Chelsea player. I do think he would 100% benefit from having more time out of Strasbourg, but I would rather see Penders brought in than going out and buying Mike Maignan. I think the Mike Maignan situation is just a bit more difficult, do you know what I mean? Because Mike Maignan would only be that short. I think if we were going to do Mike Maignan, we should have done it this season. And I don't necessarily think going forward and doing it feels like at the moment is the best thing to do. Mike Penders is better than Philip Jorgensen 100% and would come in and push Robert Sanchez for that spot. So one or two things happens there. Robert Sanchez blossoms into an unbelievable goalkeeper because he's got Penders pushing him, or what I think is more likely to happen is Penders pulls a Courtois, not in the bad way, in the good way, and ultimately just about forces Sanchez out of the team over the long run, right? I think that Penders would get a lot more minutes and a lot more game time than Jorgensen is getting at the moment. I think that I've looked at his stats before. I did a video about goalkeepers a little while ago. Go and check that one out. I will link it right here. But Penders' distribution stats are really, really, really good. So if we do stay with Maresca, which is something else I'll get onto later, ultimately his distribution is much better than Maignan's. It's much better than Robert Sanchez's. He's still got shot stopping errors at the moment, but he's still got a whole another season to stop making those. Do you know what I mean? And with maybe a bit of a better defence in front of him, maybe that would start happening as well. Next up, Giovanni Quenda, mate. This kid, another 18-year-old that we bought a little while ago. When we bought Dario Basugo, we also bought Giovanni Quenda. Dario Basugo obviously came into the team at the start of the season, although we haven't seen him because he's been injured for like the whole season so far. Got injured in the first international break. We haven't seen him since. Giovanni Quenda stayed at Sporting Lisbon and is smashing it this season, man. Absolutely smashing it. Literally, almost to the same level that Esteval Willian is. Honestly, it is really, really, really impressive how well this kid is doing, man. As of the time of recording, Quenda has got 5 goals and 6 assists in 19 games this season. So he's being trusted to play a lot. He's being brought on and he's being started. He's got 5 goals and 6 assists, and that's 11 goal involvements in 19 games for an 18-year-old in a top league. I say a top league. I know Portugal's not a top league, but it's good enough. They're a Champions League club at the end of the day. Quenda would represent a really, really good option for the right wing. He's, he's creative, he's attacking. It would allow Esteval Willian to spend more time in the centre as well, and obviously we've still got Pedro Neto over there. But I just think Quenda looks like an absolute beast, and he is getting a lot of game time. He's being really, really trusted, so he's getting great experience this season, and we already have him, so bring him in. And the last of these ones is obviously Emmanuel Omega. Emmanuel Omega looks wicked, man. He's been injured for quite a long time this season, but even with that, he's only made 11 appearances. He's got 11 games. He's got 7 goals and 2 assists, 9 goal involvements in 11 games. Man is efficient, you know what I mean? Man is efficient, and he's also creative. I know 2 assists doesn't seem like a lot, but at the end of the day, it shows that he can bring other people into play. He's a player that we already own. Like, there's some idea that maybe he comes in January, but that's probably not going to happen if the most recent news is to be believed. But ultimately, one way or the other, the stats kind of speak for themselves when you compare him to our other strikers. I did a video about this the other day as well. Omega has scored 7 goals and got 2 assists in 11 games. Liam Delap also has played 11 games and has got 1 goal against a 10-man Barcelona. João Pedro has now got 19 games and scored 5 goals and got 3 assists. So that's 8 goal involvements, but in almost double the games that Omega's got it. So at the end of the day, Omega's a much more of a striker-y striker than Omega is, and he's a lot more efficient of a striker than Liam Delap is as well. So bringing him in seems to make sense. Okay, so they're the ones that we've already got that we could see come into the team soon, but now we're going to talk about the fanciful stuff, right? I've picked 4 players that I just think would really, really add to the squad, and that is bearing in mind the players that we're probably likely to bring back anyway, and the players that I have sent out. So I am going to start with 2 centre-backs, right? Because I think, obviously, I am getting rid of our centre-backs en masse. I'm saying Disasi and Badiashile and Tosin all need to go. And to replace them, because we've got too many centre-backs to start with, the first one is Castello Lukuba. Castello Lukuba is a young French centre-back who's currently playing for Red Bull Leipzig, and he is a player that we were tenuously linked with when Levi Colwill got his original injury. He's left-footed, very technical, very good passer, and versatile. So he's a left-footed player, but he also plays really well on the right side of the fence, and he's very comfortable there. He's like 23 years old. He fits the profile. He's young. He's got lots of experience, and again, the kind of player that I think it would just be great to have. Like, at the end of the day, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because when Badiashile came in, initially, he was really, really good. Disasi's always kind of been a bit off it, and Tosin has had ups and downs, but more recently it's had downs. Castello Lukuba just looks like a really, really solid player. And like I say, he's a good defender, and he's a very technical player, and he's a very good passer as well. So to replace Badiashile, essentially, in that kind of like backup technical kind of role. And he's a bit more like a Levi Colwill, kind of. Do you know what I mean? More of a similar player to Levi Colwill than Badiashile is, but I just think he looks better than any of the other options that I've wanted to get rid of. The other centre-back is a Premier League proven centre-back in Murillo from Nottingham Forest, a 23-year-old Brazilian, again, left-footed centre-back. Not as technical a player as a Levi Colwill or Castello Lukuba, but what he has is steel and grit. Do you know what I mean? He's a fighty kind of player, man. And I don't mean that in terms of like he's got bad discipline, but I just mean he's strong. Do you know what I mean? And that's something I don't really see in any of our centre-backs at the moment. Axel Disasi was a little bit like that when he was quite big and bulky, but ultimately the errors were just too much. Badiashile, just a bit timid, if anything, man. Do you know what I mean? He never really looks like he's ready to get into it. Do you know what I mean? And obviously Badiashile has been quite error prone. Murillo, despite Nottingham Forest dropping off, has continued to have a really good season. He was a huge part of the reason that they were fighting with us for a Champions League spot at the end of last season, and he's continued to be one of their best players this season as well. And with Nottingham Forest dropping down the table, you would have thought he's probably got one eye out the door already, and is the kind of player I would love to see us go in for. He's a left-footed centre-back. I don't think he's quite as versatile as Castello Lukuba, but at the same time, I just feel like we need some of that fight in our defence, man, and Murillo, I think, could bring that. Right, so we're going to go for a midfield midfielder now. Our midfield depth is in the bin. Obviously, I've suggested we loan out Lavia. Moises Caicedo is our only solid number 6 at the moment. André Santos is getting some minutes. Enzo Fernandez, obviously really good and will, 100% stay in the team, but often gets played in a more advanced role as well. But I think our deeper midfield needs a little bit of a refresh. Dario Asugo obviously has just been injured for this whole season and again might end up being like another Lavia situation. So I've gone for it and I'm saying Adam Wharton from Crystal Palace. Mate, Adam Wharton has been a hot topic for a couple of years now. People are talking about him absolutely needing to get an opportunity in the England team for the World Cup, and he's just really, really, really good. Really young player, 3 assists in 20 games this season. So although creativity and attacking not necessarily a massive part of his game, he does have it in him to provide to that as well. And I just think because he's young and he's really good, he's not just a backup, he's a rotation option, right? We can't play Moises Caicedo for 60 games a season. We'd absolutely love to, but we can't do that. Reece James has admirably depth in midfield, and it's a bit weird. Reece James sometimes has an unbelievable showing in midfield, but ultimately you miss something from your defence when Reece James isn't there. Do you know what I mean? I think at our best, we've looked at our best when Reece James is playing that right back, right side of a back three kind of thing. And if Moises Caicedo isn't necessarily available, or if Moises Caicedo, he has an injury or a suspension or something, or then you can bring Adam Wharton in. If you want to just shore up your midfield because you're expecting strong attack, then you can play Adam Wharton next to Moises Caicedo, and then you allow Moises Caicedo to get forward a little bit more, because what we've seen about Moises Caicedo is he's got a goal in him and he's actually a really creative player as well. And the last one on the list, maybe a little bit fanciful when I've talked about this guy a little bit before, it is Joaquin Panicelli from Strasbourg. Mate, this guy is so good. He's so good. He has really taken his opportunity this season because obviously Emmanuel Omega spent a lot of time out injured. Joaquin Panicelli is 23 years old and scored 10 goals in 19 games. Brilliant. No assists, so definitely more of like a direct striker. Kind of just a much better version of Liam Delap. It's like if Liam Delap was getting goals, do you know what I mean? Panicelli looks like an absolute beast and is just a proper striker. Do you know what I mean? He's just a proper striker. None of this 9.5 or young potential or whatever. Do you know what I mean? He's just a guy that gets on the pitch and gets goals, man. He's a young Argentinian lad. So there's, connections there with some of the other Argentines we've got in our squad, like Garnacho and Enzo Fernandez. And I just think he looks brilliant, man. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm also really excited about Omega, but I see Panicelli playing, I'm just like, mate, this guy is just proper striker. Now, this is probably the most unrealistic one because we've bought Omega, and it would be crazy for us to buy Omega and Panicelli, but Panicelli is drawing interest from other teams, including Man United, Barcelona. So at the end of the day, if Panicelli is going to go anyway, then I'd rather him come to us. If Panicelli was looking like he'd stay at Strasbourg, then fair enough. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't want to rip him out of the club and kind of start destroying their soul because we just take all their players. But if Panicelli's going to get sold anyway, and there's going to be some sort of competition for his name, then yeah, 100% I'd rather he came to Chelsea because he just looks like a proper bagsman, absolute bagsman. And because of the link, we wouldn't have to pay as much money for him. So yeah, maybe a little bit fanciful, but I would love to see a proper striker, man. Do you know what I mean? Strikers, there's not a huge amount about. Again, there was loads of strikers got sold last season. Ekitike, Isaac, Sesko, do you know what I mean? And they've all had varying degrees of success since they've made their moves, and it looked like that all of the strikers have kind of gone and there's not many available. Panicelli's just come out of nowhere this season, man, and he looks really, really, really good. So like I say, for me, this is largely based on, because I actually, obviously being a Chelsea fan and knowing about the Strasbourg connection, I don't just want to rip the soul out of their club and buy all of their players. But if Panicelli is going to go anyway because he's drawn attention from lots of other clubs, then yes, go in for him and get him. So that's it. That's my big list of outs and ins, right? But what we're going to do now is we're going to have a little fanciful look at how the starting 11s might look with these players in our teams. So I've done 3 starting 11s, two essentially like kind of first teams, very, very slight variations on the first teams, and what could potentially be some sort of backup. But there are a million more combinations you could make as well. So I'm sticking with the 4-2-3-1, and I have omitted Levi Colwill from any of these actually at the end of the day. Just because, yes, he's going to come back in April, but at the end of the day, after such such a long injury, you just don't know what's going to happen. So I'm going forward with this as if Levi Colwill isn't just going to come back and be able to get straight back into the team. He's kind of the only player, other than the ones that I'm selling, obviously, or getting rid of, that I've omitted from these. And I'm going to start with this one. So Robert Sanchez in goal, because at the end of the day, even if Mike Penders comes in, Rob Sanchez is still the number one until Mike Penders proves otherwise, right? Now, I do think that could happen, but ultimately we'll stick with Sanchez in goal. Reece James at right back, right? This is... And I say right back, like depending on who the manager is and what the structure is, Reece James can play right back, Reece James can play inverting into midfield, and Reece James can also play right side of a back three. And for me, our squad always looks better when he is in this kind of position. Don't get me wrong, I think he does a good job in midfield, and I'm not unhappy to see Reece James in midfield, but I am definitely happier seeing him in that right back spot. Wesley Fofana obviously is our current best centre back at the club. We generally just look better when he's on. Do you know what I mean? And he got poked in the eye yesterday, man. And I hope that doesn't see him out for a really long time, because Maresca did come out and said it was actually quite bad. But ultimately, any starting 11 we've got at the moment, if he's fit, Fofana gets into. And I'm putting Luca Bacasteo in this one. He is, like I say, it's like Badia Shield if he was better, essentially. So, you know, you get more of the solid defender sort of thing from Wesley Fofana, and you get the technical passing ability from Luca Bacasteo, which I think could make for a really good back four. And we finished that off, obviously, with Marc Cucurella. He's had a couple of rough games, to be honest, but the team is having a couple of rough games. But either way, Marc Cucurella, I'd still see as one of the best left backs in the world, and obviously he's so versatile with being able to get into midfield as well. I do want to see less of him as a shadow striker, though, because I don't mind seeing him get into midfield and pack the midfield out. That's fair enough, but seeing him get up top, it's just like, why are you there, man? We've got all these attacking players. Let's have the attacking players there, and let's put Marc Cucurella back at left back, or at least inverting into midfield. Midfield three is kind of what you would expect. Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer. When we have these three guys all available and fit at the same time, and they've played a few games together, going to be absolutely awesome. On the wings, I've gone for Alejandro Garnacho, who I think is currently our best left winger, and Pedro Neto on the right, who is easily like one of the best players for us this season. Even in the times that things have not been going well, he's popping out with goals, man. I think he's our top goal scorer now. And Pedro Neto's doing really, really well, and I really don't want to see him sold. And up top, Panicelli. Oh, mate, imagine an actual striker for, you know, Garnacho loves a cutback. Imagine an actual striker there that isn't always dropping deep, you know what I mean, who's like, yeah, I want to score a goal, I'll be in the box. Someone there for Cole Palmer to feed and get balls to and stuff as well. And, just the idea of having an actual striker. So that's my first projected lineup. My second projected lineup is very similar, but with just a couple of differences. In a game where maybe we need a little bit less technicality and, you know, it's a bit less about building up and a bit more about defending, you put Murillo in that left centre-back spot instead of Luca Bacasteo. Midfield stays the same. On the right, we change out Pedro Neto for Esteval Willian, because we know that if we're in a situation where we're going to get attacked out a lot, a bit of magic can do well, and also he can combine with Cole Palmer. Keep Panicelli in the middle, move Pedro Neto over to the left. To me, only with a couple of changes, that still looks like a really, really strong lineup. And then I'll move on to my third one, which is like the B team, right? The what if. And I say the B team, this looks so much stronger than a B team that we're currently putting out at the end of the day. So Mike Penders in goal, because, you know, at the end of the day, I think that's reasonable. I think that if Mike Penders were to come in, he'd get a lot more game time than Jorgensen is, just because he's that much better. Malagusto at right back. Really interesting. The last point of this video that I'm going to get into is pertaining to kind of our defensive structure and fullbacks in general, but ultimately Malagusto is a really good player when he's played in his rightful position. Centre-back pairing of Josh Achiampong alongside Luca Bacasteo, because why not? Because they'd both be really good. Left-back, Yoro Hato, I think he needs to get more game time, man. I'm not really sure what's going on with Yoro Hato. I understand that Marc Cucurella is amazing, but at the same time, Yoro Hato's surely going to be unhappy with making this move and really not getting much game time at the moment. The midfield looks a bit different, but for a backup midfield, Adam Wharton playing that number 6, absolutely love that. Andre Santos playing the more Enzo Fernandez kind of role, that, you know, that's literally what Maresca has said about him. And obviously Esteval Willian can come and feature in the centre of attack there. On the wings, we've got Jamie Gittins, who, like I said, I think is behind Garnacho at the moment. Giovanni Quenda on the right, absolute monster of a player, man, and really, really, really like him. And then we put Emmanuel Omega up top, do you know what I mean? It's just like, I just think it looks great, and that's as a backup. And the thing is, Emmanuel Omega is probably interchangeable with Panicelli in some of those first teams as well, depending on the type of team that we're going to play. But both of those strikers together have got 17 goals and 2 assists, right? 19 goal involvements from both of them. From our 3 strikers this season in Mark Gue, Liam Delap and João Pedro, that's like 6, 7 goals and about 4 assists or something. Do you know what I mean? So literally the output from these 2 is literally double what the other 3 is in the rest of our team. So that's it, guys. That's my fanciful fantasy lineups that I would like to see if we brought these players in. Now, the last thing I want to talk about today is the manager. Now, this has been a bit of a long video and this is probably going to add some minutes onto it. I am not, so disclaimer, I'm not Maresca out. I, you know, it's not to say that I couldn't be, like I wasn't Graham Potter out until I was. At the end of the day, at the end of his Chelsea tenure, Graham Potter's win percentage was 38%, man. That's really, really, really bad. Maresca, up until recently, was doing quite well. I haven't actually looked at what it is now, but it is dropping off quickly at the end of the day. And a sustained run of bad results can really, really, really affect that fact and that figure. I understand that draws are worth something as well, but at the same time, it's like with the team that he's got, with the backing that he's got, Maresca just keeps on making crazy decisions, man. Crazy decisions. And like I say, I don't want to see Maresca out. What I really want to see is Maresca improve and stop making these crazy decisions. Sometimes the simplest answer is the best one. And you know, I don't want to see 3 fullbacks in midfield when we've got midfielders that can play. Do you know what I mean? It's just so many crazy decisions at the moment, man. But either way, I'm not Maresca out, and I just want to see him improve. But if Maresca were to be posthumously let go, there is only really one guy for me personally that I would like to see replace him at the moment that I think fits the project, the profile, and is just absolute Chelsea. And it is Cesc Fabregas, man. Cesc Fabregas is one of my favourite Chelsea players. I just love the way he plays, man. Honestly, I remember when he came in initially, I was like, oh, I don't know, because he's pretty Arsenal, but it just didn't matter, man. It just didn't matter. He absolutely unlocked our midfield and was instantly just like one of the best players on the pitch almost every game. He's a very, very, very intelligent player. He was a very intelligent player, and that seemingly has transposed to his managerial career. So, Cesc Fabregas was the assistant manager at Como about 2 years ago. Their manager got sacked and he was set as their interim manager, right? While they were looking for someone else. But he got them promoted to Serie A for the first time in like over 20 years, by the way, which is in itself incredible, and got the job full time. And since then, he's been doing amazingly, right? So Como hadn't been in Serie A since the 2002 and 2003 season. And in his first full season as a proper manager in a top league, with a team that hadn't been in the league for 20 years, he got a 10th placed finish, which is absolutely unbelievable. And at the time of writing, right now, Como is 6th in Serie A. He has done this with very, very little money, smart acquisitions, a good play style, and just intelligent tactical play, man. Fabregas, he just fits so many of the things for me. He's a young manager. He ultimately plays possession-based football in the same base formation that we do, although he does very different things with it. So he plays modern possession-based football, right? But so does Maresca. Now, the main difference between Maresca and Fabregas, as far as I can see at the moment, is the use of fullbacks, right? So Fabregas likes his fullbacks to get forward. And you got to think, with a Moises Caicedo, you could do that with our team, man. You could 100% do that with our team. We've got amazing fullbacks. Cucurella, Gusto, James, and Yoro Hato offer a lot wide and attacking. Gusto, in particular, has always looked at his best for us when he's played out on that right side and being a bit more of a bombing fullback. Like we saw it with the Pochettino season. He really unlocked Gusto and he looked absolutely brilliant. And also in the PSG game, that's exactly what Gusto was doing, and he was brilliant again. Gusto is almost a victim of his own versatility because he offers all of these other things where he can get in midfield and stuff. But ultimately, like I said before, man, sometimes the simplest answer is the best one. Reece James maybe he hasn't got, I don't know, to be fair, we haven't seen it, but since he come back from his injury, we haven't really seen him play that position, but ultimately I still think he could. Do you know what I mean? I still think he could. And even so, the tactical versatility for Reece James to be able to get up or to play as a right centre-back or to invert into midfield, he's just useful wherever you put him. Marc Cucurella obviously is good at getting forward, do you know what I mean? And to see Marc Cucurella getting forward and allowing players like Garnacho to actually drift more inside and try and get attacks rather than being wide so often, I just think it makes sense, man. So this is the thing is, and again, I'll reiterate, I'm not Maresca out, but I would love to see Cesc Fabregas in the dugout for Chelsea. About a month ago now, I did a live stream with Mo from the Blue Lounge, and he actually played a video of Fabregas talking about, I think it was just after the Man United game, But ultimately, he was talking about the changes and the decisions that Maresca has made, and he was kind of echoing what we were all thinking. It was like, why did you make those changes? Why did you make those decisions? Why didn't you go for the game? And Fabregas wants to win, do you know what I mean? So that is maybe the only detriment to Fabregas's management style, is he uses double pivots and bombing on fullbacks, which means you're vulnerable in transition, right? But one thing I wanted to do, this is going to turn into a really long video. I'm going to compare the defensive statistics between Como and Chelsea for this season so far and see, based on Fabregas's risky style of play versus Maresca's kind of more conserved defending style and how things have been going in the team, what that actually looks like. So here are both lists. So I'm just going to read from both of these and we'll compare them. So on the left we have Chelsea and on the right we have Como. This is this season. So clean sheets. Chelsea have 7 clean sheets. Como have 6. So Chelsea, I don't know if we've got a record clean sheet. We had a record clean sheets in the Premier League. I haven't looked that up. Either way, 7 clean sheets in like 15 games is still really, really good. But so is 6 for Fabregas. And this is the thing you have to bear in mind with this, right? Is Chelsea have got these stats with a £1 billion squad at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? And Fabregas is doing this with a Como that have only just managed to get back into Serie A after 20 years and are not exactly going to be inundated with a huge amount of money. So, clean sheets, already a good start for Fabregas. Goals conceded per game, Chelsea 1, Como 0.8. So, Como are conceding less goals than Chelsea. At the end of the day, the difference is obviously like we've got much better attackers than Como do. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I'm specifically looking at the defence, because it makes sense that Chelsea are scoring more goals. For instance, it's not on this list, but I had a look at it. Chelsea have scored 25 goals in the league so far, and Como have scored like 19. Do you know what I mean? That's still pretty good, but there's obviously a difference in quality as far as the attackers go. So we'll continue. Tackles per game, 15.8 for Chelsea, 17.1 for Como. Como making more tackles, doing a better defensive job than Chelsea are at the moment. Interceptions, 9.9 for Chelsea, 7.1 for Como. So there's going to be some differences, but that's not a crazy, crazy difference. Do you know what I mean? Clearances per game, 21.3 for Chelsea, 21.4 for Como. So in and around the same amount of clearances, that's fine, that's good. Saves per game, 2.1 for Chelsea, 3 for Como. So that means, is their goalkeeper better than Rob Sanchez? Don't know, but because we play our goalkeeper in such a specific way, their goalkeeper might just be more confident because he's got less other work to do in terms of like distribution and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Balls recovered per game, 46.4, 44.6. So again, yes, Chelsea are a little bit higher, but again, the context, Como, 20 years out of Serie A, Fabregas, very, very new manager, kind of like Maresca is, but ultimately he got a lot less to work with. Now, this is where things start to get really, really, really interesting, and this is where I don't think this stuff just comes down to the players. I do think this stuff comes down to the manager, man management, making you feel good, making you feel confident, making sure that you stay focused in a game, right? So Chelsea, errors leading to shots, 10. Chelsea have made 10 errors leading to shots in the league this season. Como have only made 6. So that's like 40% less. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a huge discrepancy, man. And that shows you that Fabregas is getting, ultimately, his defenders a lot more focused than Chelsea are. Errors leading to goals, 3 from Chelsea, 2 from Como. Again, just kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? The rest of them, okay, yeah, penalties. So we've actually been quite clean this season so far. We haven't given away any penalties in the Premier League. Como have given away 1 and conceded 1. Clearances off the line, we've only made 1. Como have made 4. So they are doing more last-ditch, better defending in that respect as well. And both teams have made 1 last-man tackle. So The point is, Chelsea are obviously in front of Como in a lot of those metrics, but given what he's got to work with, you'd probably have to argue that Fabregas is doing a better job. So the thing is, the other caveat about this isn't a link that I've seen. This is just like me saying, if I could have anyone else other than Maresca in the dugout right now to build the long-term project with the owners that we've got, do you know what I mean? I could have just said, bring back Thomas Tuchel, or go for Zidane, or let's try and get Pep Guardiola from City, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? But ultimately, that's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to think about the project that we've got, and I think Fabregas would be amazing for our team. I think he's proper Chelsea. I think he knows how to win. I think he was a really intelligent midfielder. You know, he's obviously won lots of things during his career at Arsenal, Barcelona, and Chelsea, and Monaco, I think, as well. Was he not part of their title-winning season at Monaco? or at least, has played very well for them there. But at the end of the day, that is my how I would fix Chelsea rant, fantasy ramble, whatever you want to call it. It's been fun, man. It's been fun. At the end of the day, I don't expect to see a lot of these changes come through. I don't expect to see Maresca go anywhere. If we don't win a game up until January, we'll see what happens then, because obviously the fans will then just start coming for the club, won't they, at the end of the day. I think some of the players I would like to bring in are fanciful as well. I 100% appreciate that. That's not necessarily something I necessarily think would happen, but I am just thinking, if we want to win a title, our first team and our second team need to be good, and players from the second team need to be pushing players from the first team for spots as well. So, guys, let me know what you think about all of it. Have you enjoyed this video? Is this the kind of thing you like to see? Because if you do, I'm quite happy to do some more stuff like this. Tell me what you think about the players that I want to send out. Tell me what you think about the players that I want to bring in. Tell me what you think about how their starting 11s look, and tell me what you think about Fabregas as a manager. Like I say, genuinely, I don't think it will happen, and that's not about not bringing in Fabregas. I don't think we'll sack Maresca unless it gets really, really bad. If we look like we're not going to get into the Champions League, I think we could get in the top 4 and not win a single trophy this season, and he'd be fine. I think it's going to take a real massive drop in order for them to consider sacking Maresca, because they want a long-term manager, right? They want a long-term manager. And like I say, for me, if I could choose anyone, Cesc Fabregas is my man for it. Absolutely. Think he's doing a great job at Como. Loved him as a player. He speaks really, really well. And obviously, he's already kind of pointed out some of the things vis-a-vis Chelsea that we all have problems with, about how Maresca does his substitutions and kind of throws away games and stuff. So that is it, guys. This has been a long one. My voice is starting to get hoarse. I'm going to wrap the video up there. Thank you very, very much for sticking around until the end of the video. If you did, I hope you have an absolutely wicked day. I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.